Hey there, my name's Dave and welcome back to another Guitar Zero to Hero song tutorial. In this lesson, I'm going to teach you how to play Time in a Bottle by Jim Croce. Now, if you've ever tried to tackle this one before, you'll know that there are some finger twisting chord shapes that can be a bit of a challenge. But don't worry, I've got some great workarounds that still sound really good and close to the original without being a total hand workout. If you're not quite ready for fingerpicking yet, I also teach a simplified strum version so you can still enjoy playing this beautiful track. If you're looking to level up your fingerpicking in general, I highly recommend checking out my free Fingerpicking Foundations mini course. It's the perfect starting point if you want to build confidence and control with your picking hand. I'll leave a link to that in the description below. Let's jump into the lesson. Okay, let's get stuck into this song. I'm going to start by teaching you the Fingerpicked studio version. Now, if this Fingerpicked method is too difficult for you and you just want a simple way of strumming it and singing along to this song, then skip to the second half of this video where I teach you an easy strummed version. Okay, let's start with the intro. Now, for our fingerpicking basics, generally my thumb will be taking care of the 6th, 5th, and 4th strings, and my index, middle, and ring finger will be taking care of the 3rd, 2nd, and 1st strings respectively. Ideally, they won't pluck any other strings other than the ones they've been assigned to. There are exceptions to this, and I'll get to those later. We have 2 lines of tab for this intro. I'm going to start with the D minor chord, which looks like this. Now, this song has a 3/4 time signature, which means that the count is 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. So for this D minor, we're simply going to pluck 4th string, 3rd, 2nd, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. So a down, up motion. Now, by the way, if you're new to fingerpicking and this feels a little bit overwhelming, I've actually put together a free mini course called Fingerpicking Foundation. It walks you through 3 beginner-friendly exercises that build control and smoothness with your picking hand. Perfect if you want to make songs like this feel easier. So you can grab it for free. The link is in the description below. Now, after that first bar, we're going to go to another chord shape. Now, this is probably the trickiest part of this song. Now, do not worry if this is too difficult for you. I do have a workaround for it, and I'll teach you that in a moment. So this is a D minor over C sharp. So what we're going to do is stay in the D minor position, but take our pinky finger and reach to the 4th fret of the 5th string. That is a bit of a reach, but in this position, we're now going to make the 5th string our root note and then pluck the 3rd, 2nd, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd strings. All right, so just a down up motion, but our root note's the 5th string. Then we're going to move to a D minor over C, so the pinky finger just shifts down 1 fret there to the C note. We're going to pluck the exact same strings. Now, for the very last note, you can lift your middle finger as we shift to the next position and just pluck an open 3rd string there. So the 3rd bar. Now for the 4th bar, we've lifted our middle finger. You can lift your pinky finger as well, so keep your index and ring finger where they are and just put your middle finger on the 2nd fret of the 5th string. This is a G7 over B, and we're going to pluck the same string. So 5th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st, 2nd, 3rd. And that's it for the first line of tab, which sounds like this. 1, 2, and 3. Now for the second line of tab, we are going to shift position. So keep your ring finger where it is, and we can lift our index and just put it on the 1st fret of the 5th string. This is a B flat 6 sharp 11. Let's just call it a B flat. We're going to pluck the exact same strings. So it's 5th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st, 2nd, 3rd. For the second bar, we stay in this position. We're going to pinch these 2 strings together. So the 5th and the 2nd. And then with your middle finger, go to the 2nd fret of the 2nd string. Pinch the open 5th and 2nd strings together. With your ring and pinky finger, go to the 3rd frets of the 6th and 3rd strings. We're going to pinch those 2 strings. So 3 pinches there. 1, 2, 3. Then we'll go back to this position here. And we're going to pinch the 5th and 2nd strings. And in between these pinches, you're going to hit the open 3rd string. So pinch, 3rd string. Now, it's not 100% necessary, and it's only played very lightly as well. If you listen to the recording, you can just barely hear it. So it is optional, but I like to play it. Pinch, open 3rd string. Then we go to this G/B shape. So index on the 2nd fret of the 5th string, ring on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. pinch, open third string, and then shift the shape up 2 frets, pinch, open third string. So this third bar. Then we're going to keep our ring finger on that same string, shift it up to the 8th fret, middle finger goes onto the 8th fret of the 4th string. We're going to pinch the 4th and 2nd, and then open 3rd string. Then slide your middle finger down to the 7th fret, index goes onto the 6th fret of the 2nd string. Pinch, 4th and 2nd strings together, and then the open 3rd string. Then middle finger shifts down to the 5th fret, ring finger onto the 5th fret of the 2nd string. We're going to pinch the 4th and 2nd strings again, but with your pinky finger, hammer on to the 6th fret and pull off. Now to get that pull off sound nice, you're going to flick your pinky finger in a downwards direction. Don't just lift it because you won't really get that pull off note ringing. So this 4th bar. And that's the second line of tab, which sounds like this. Okay, so that's the studio version of the intro for guitar number 1. It will sound like this in total. Okay, so those chord shapes for the 2nd and 3rd bar are finger twisters. There's no doubt about that. So what can we do to still fingerpick this intro, but making it dramatically easier? Well, let's adjust the chord shapes and the strings that we pluck, and this is how we're going to do it. So for our first bar and chord, it's just going to be a D5. So index on the 2nd fret of the 3rd and middle finger on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. Now our finger picking pattern's going to change. It's going to go 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 3rd. So down, up, down. All right. Now our next chord shape is going to be a D5 over C sharp. So with our free ring finger, or you can use your pinky, put that on the 4th fret of the 5th string. Now our first pluck is going to be on the 5th string, but all the other strings are going to be the same as the picking pattern for that first bar. So 5th, 3rd, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 3rd. All right. Then for our next bar, we're going to shift positions. Keep your index finger where it is, and middle finger comes up to the 3rd fret of the 5th string, ring finger to the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. We're going to pluck the same strings. So same picking pattern there. And then for the 4th bar, keep your ring finger where it is, move your index to the 2nd fret of the 5th string and pluck the exact same strings. So that's a G over B. So the first line of tab for this easier intro. For the second line of tab, we'll shift to this B flat 6, sharp 11. So just move your index finger down 1 fret from that G over B. We're going to pluck the same pattern. Now from this point onwards, everything is the same as the more difficult studio version that I've already taught you. So pinch, 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 and then back to this 2nd fret position, pinch, open 3rd, G over B, pinch, open 3rd, shift it up 2 frets, pinch, open 3rd, then this higher 8th fret position, pinch, open 3rd, this position, pinch, open 3rd, and then 5th fret position with the hammer on and pull off. So all of that's the same as what I've already taught you. So the easier version of playing this intro, which avoids that really stretchy finger twisting D minor over C sharp, will sound like this. Okay, let's move on to the verse for guitar number 1. And there's 4 lines of tab here. For the first bar, we start off with the D minor. We're going to pluck from the 4th string down and then up. So 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st, 2nd, 3rd. And then we shift to this easier D5 over C sharp position. So from the D minor, quickly change positions. Now think about getting your ring finger into place as fast as possible after the D minor, because then you can get these other fingers into position after. Switch and then get them into position, and you're going to pluck them like the easier version of the intro. So 3rd, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 3rd. Then we go to our D5 over C, so keep your index finger where it is, put your middle and ring finger into place on the 3rd frets, and pluck 5th, 3rd, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 3rd. Then to our G over B, so keep your ring finger where it is from that previous bar, and same picking pattern. So the first line of tab for this verse. For the second line of tab, we shift our index finger down 1 fret, so B flat 6 sharp 11. We're going to pluck the same pattern as we did for the previous bar. Now the next 3 bars, we've basically already learnt them the same as the intro. So the pinch, 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 pluck, pinch, pluck, pinch, pluck. And then up to the 8th fret. So it's very similar to the intro there. So the second line of tab. Now for the third line tab, back to a D minor for the first bar. Then we go to a D5 over C. So keep your ring finger where it is, put your middle finger on the 3rd fret of the 5th, index on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. This is the same picking pattern that we had in the first line of tab as well. Then down to our B flat shape like this, same picking pattern. And finally, we're going to play a G minor shape. So keep your ring finger where it is, put your index on the 3rd fret of the 6th string, middle on the 3rd fret of the 3rd string. Pluck the same strings except our starting note will be the 6th string. Alright, so the third line of tab. For our next line, a tab from the G minor, we go down to an F6. So index moves down to the 1st fret of the 6th, middle finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. Pluck the 6th, 3rd, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 3rd. Back to our G minor with the same picking pattern. And then we're going to play that bar that is basically in the intro. So 2nd fret position here with your middle finger, pinch, open 3rd. G over B, pinch, open 3rd, then shift up 2 frets and open 3rd. Alright, so back down to the 2nd fret position with your middle finger, pinch the 5th and 2nd strings, but we're going to hammer on and pull off onto the 3rd string. Then the open 2nd and back into position and pinch 5th and 2nd. So the final bar. And the 4th line of tab. And that's it for the verse, which sounds like this in total. 4 lines of tab. Okay, next we get to the chorus. Now, musically, something really interesting here changes, and instead of being grounded in the key of D minor, we change to the key of D major. So it's an uplifting feel. The verse is very moody and sad, and then the chorus is quite happy and inspiring. So we're going to start off with the D major chord here. Now, the way I like to play this is with my index finger barred across the second frets of the third, second, and first string, and then I put my middle finger on the third fret of the second string. This is because it'll be easier to reach to the D over C sharp later on. You can play a regular D like this and then reach your pinky over for the D over C sharp, but I prefer doing it like this. So we're going to pluck the fourth, third, and then first and second, and back to third, and fourth and third. So that's our picking pattern. Then we're going to go to the D over C sharp, so ring finger comes onto the C sharp note on the fifth string. We're going to pluck the fifth, third, first and second, third, fifth, and then third. All right. Then we shift positions and we're going to move our index finger all the way up so it's barring from the fifth string onwards. And we're going to pluck fifth, third, first and second, third, fifth, third. All right. At this point, we can hit the open fifth string. That allows us a bit of time to get into a regular D position. I'm going to pluck third, first and second, third, fifth, and third. All right, so that's the first line of tab. For the second line of tab, we're then going to just take our middle finger, put it on the third fret of the sixth string. So just a lazy G chord here. Sixth, third, second, third, fourth, third. All right. Then I go to a D/F sharp shape. So index and middle finger on the second frets of the sixth and third string. Pluck the same pattern as the previous bar. Then an E minor shape, so bring your index and middle fingers together onto the second frets of the fifth and fourth, same picking pattern. And then we go to that same bar we had in intro where it's pinch, pluck, pinch, pluck, pinch, pluck. So I'm going to use my ring finger here on the second fret of the second string, pinch, open, then G over B, pinch, open, and then up 2 frets. So the second line of tab. And that's it for the chorus. I'll now play that along with the metronome at a slower sort of speed. And I highly encourage that you practice these parts with the metronome. Now I'm playing at 85 BPM here, but you can slow it down to whatever is more suitable and comfortable for you. After the first chorus, there's a break and then the second verse. Now for the second verse, those 4 lines of tab are just played through once, not twice like in the first verse. Then there's a second chorus, which is the same as the first chorus, and finally the outro. The outro is very simple. It's just 2 bars that we're effectively repeating through 3 times. So we're going to get into this position here. 7th fret of the 3rd string with your ring finger, middle finger on the 6th fret of the 2nd string. We're going to start with the open 4th string, then 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 1st, 2nd. So now for the second bar, we take our free index finger and we're going to hover it over the fret strip that's dividing 5th and 6th frets. Now we lightly touch the string there. Now we're not fretting it, we're not pushing down, we're just lightly touching the string at that point. Pluck it and you'll get that natural harmonic. That really nice chiming sound. We're going to do that on the 4th string, the 5th string, and back on the 4th string. Right, so 1 and 2 and 3. And those 2 bars together. Those 2 bars are repeated again and again, and then finally we end the song by just strumming this chord position, which sounds very mystical, very mysterious from the 4th string onwards, and that's the end of the song. So the outro. Those are all the parts for guitar number 1. Let's move on to guitar 2, and we require a capo on the 5th fret of our guitar here. We're going to take our ring and pinky fingers and put them on the 5th frets of the 1st and 2nd string. Now in terms of finger picking here, I'm going to use my thumb and index to alternate between the 2nd and 1st strings. You can use your middle and ring, like our typical finger picking assignment that I spoke about at the start of this lesson. But I feel like in this case, because it's bouncing across the 2nd and 1st strings for a lot of this intro, that it's a bit easier to just use your thumb and index to go back and forth. So in this position, we'll just pluck 2nd, 1st, 2nd, 1st, 2nd, 1st. Right? 1 and 2 and 3 and. For the next bar, take your middle finger, put that on the 4th fret of the 1st string. You can lift your pinky finger here. For the next bar, we'll descend down another fret, so index finger will go on the 3rd fret of the 1st string, pluck this position. So it's just a descending note. Can you guess where we're going to go next? Yeah, right there. But we are going to shift positions entirely, so ring finger will go down 2 frets to the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, and middle finger onto the 2nd fret of the 1st string. That's it for the first line of tab. For the second line of tab, surprise, surprise, we're going to go down another fret on that 1st string. So index finger on the 1st fret of the 1st string. We're going to start with the 2nd string first, and then lift our ring finger, open 2nd string first, then with your middle finger, 1st fret of the 2nd string, 2nd string, 1st. All right, so 3rd, open, 1st on the 2nd string. Then for the next bar, we go back up to the starting position, 2nd string, 1st string, back down to 1st fret, 2nd string, 1st string, then hit the open 2nd string. So the 2nd bar. Now for this next section, we're going to pinch a whole bunch of notes. So middle finger up to the 1st fret of the 3rd string, we're going to pinch the 3rd and 1st, like that, and then move our middle finger up to the 2nd fret. Ring finger comes onto the 2nd fret of the 1st string, pinch here, up 2 more frets, so that bar. Then for the next bar, up to 7th fret, down to 5th, and then end on 4th. So the second line of tab. And that's it for the intro, which will sound like this. Okay, so we move on to the verse. Now we're going to start with an A minor shape, but we're only going to fret a portion of it because this will allow us a bit more movement when it comes to stretching to those trickier shapes later on in a moment. So middle finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, index finger on the 1st fret of the 2nd. We're going to pluck 5th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st, 2nd, 3rd. And then we go to this A minor over G sharp. So pinky finger will reach the 4th fret of the 6th string. So 6th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st, 2nd, 3rd. So then A minor over G, so ring finger now comes onto the 3rd fret of the 6th string. Then we're going to go A minor over F sharp. So middle finger comes up to the 2nd fret of the 6th, ring finger onto the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. Pluck the same strings. So the first line of tab here. Then we're going to go to an F6 sharp 11, so keep your ring finger where it is, shift your index finger up to the first fret of the 6th string, middle finger will go onto the first fret of the 1st string. We're going to pluck 6th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st, 2nd, 3rd. Okay. Then pluck the 3rd and 1st strings together. Then index onto the 1st fret of the 3rd string. Pluck the same strings again. Then ring and pinky will come onto the 3rd frets of the 4th and 2nd. Pluck them. So this bar in total. Then back to this 1st fret position. Then with your ring and middle finger, 2nd frets, up to 4th, 7th, 5th, and 4th. Okay, so this second line of tab. Then for the 3rd line of tab, we're going to get into this A minor position here. So ring finger on the 7th fret of the 4th string, index barring across the 5th frets of the 3rd, 2nd, and 1st strings. We're going to pluck in a downwards and upwards motion from the 4th string. So 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st, 2nd, 3rd. Then we go to the C over G shape. So you can play this in a couple of ways. I use my middle ring and pinky fingers on the 5th frets of the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd, and index finger on the 3rd fret of the 1st, like that. But you can just use your index finger there and bar your ring finger across those 5th frets too. But it'll be a little tricky because you'll have to lift it ever so slightly to let the 1st string ring underneath it. So that's why I like playing it like this. I'm going to pluck the same strings. Then we go to a D minor 6. So it's that bottom part of that F6 that we had before. So just the bottom part of it. Pluck the same strings. And then for this next bar, put our index finger into place here. And we're going to pluck 6th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. So that's it for the 3rd line of tab, which will sound like this. For the 4th line of tab, we go to an A minor. Pluck 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. D minor, pluck 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st, 2nd, 3rd strings. And then we shift our middle finger down to the 1st fret, pluck the 3rd and 1st strings, then go to 2nd fret positions, 4th fret position, so that bar. Then we're going to move our middle finger to the 6th fret of the 4th string, index to the 5th fret of the 2nd, pinch the 4th and 2nd, and hammer on and pull off our pinky to the 7th fret of the 2nd string. Then move this down 2 frets, pinch again, and then lift our index finger on the 3 beat to hit the open 2nd string. So the final bar. So the final line of tab. That's it for the verse for guitar 2. I'll play it along with the metronome. For the first verse, that's played through twice, and for the second verse, it's played through once. Next, we get to the chorus. 2 lines of tab here. We're going to play an A major shape here. So instead of the A minor that we had earlier, it's slightly different. We have our middle finger here on the 6th fret of the 3rd string, but everything else is the same. And we're going to pluck 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st, 2nd, 3rd. Then we're going to shift into this major chord shape inversion like this. So ring and pinky on the 6th frets of the 4th and 3rd, middle finger on the 5th fret of the 2nd, and index on the 4th fret of the 1st string. Pluck the same strings. Then down to this F sharp minor chord shape. So 4th fret of the 4th string, index finger bars across the 2nd frets of the third, second, and first. Pluck the same strings. And then finally to an A chord, and we're plucking from the fourth string onwards, so same picking pattern. And in total. For the second line of tab, we go into this position. So fourth fret of the fourth string, second fret of the third string with our index. We're going to pluck fourth, third, second, third, second, third. Now shift positions, so it's basically an A sus2, play the exact same strings. Then lift with your index finger, play the same picking pattern. Then middle finger comes up, index onto the first fret of the third string, pinch fourth and third. Then fourth fret and second fret, pinch the fourth and third again, and then up another 2 frets. So that's the second line of tab. And that's it for the chorus, which sounds like this. Finally, there's the outro. We're going to get into this position here. So 7th fret of the 4th string, 5th fret of the 3rd string. We're going to pluck 4th, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 2nd, 3rd. All right. And then we're going to hit some natural harmonics here. So lift your ring finger and then place it above the fret strip, dividing 7th and 8th fret. We're going to just hover it above that string, touching the string, but not pushing it down. Pluck it. And then do the same to the 5th string, and then 4th string. And these 2 bars in total. We're going to play that through another 2 times, and then we end by just strumming the middle 4 strings. And the outro in total. And that's everything for guitar number 2. Okay, so for those of you who want a simple way of strumming and singing along to this song, this is how we're going to do it. First of all, let's establish a strumming pattern that we can use basically throughout the entire song. Now this song again is in 3/4 timing, so it's 1 and 2 and 3 and, right? And our strumming pattern is just down, down, up, or 1 and 2 and 3 and in succession, 1 and 2 and 3, 1 and 2 and 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and. So for the intro, we can start off with the D5 chords. So index finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, middle finger on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. Just focus on the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd string here. 1st string should be muted. 6th string should absolutely be muted, and you can do that with your thumb reaching over the top to touch that string. If you happen to hit the open 5th string, that's okay. Alright, so D5, and then D5 over C sharp. So with your free ring finger, go to the 4th fret of the 5th string. We're just focusing on those middle 4 strings. So then we're going to shift to D5 over C. So keep your index finger where it is, middle and ring finger now go 3rd fret of the 5th string, 3rd fret of the 2nd string. Again, focus on the middle 4 strings, and then to a G over B. So keep your ring finger where it is, index onto the 2nd fret of the 5th string, focus on the middle 4 strings. So the first line of chords. Then we're going to go to a B flat 6. So from this G over B, just shift your index finger down 1 fret. Again, focus on the middle 4 strings. Like that. focus on the middle 4 strings. That's played for 2 bars of music. And then finally we have an A7. So just shift your ring finger down 1 fret and middle finger onto the 2nd fret of the 4th string. Again, focus on the middle 4 strings. If you happen to hit the 1st string, that's okay too. All right, 2 bars of the A7. So the second line of chords. Okay, that's it for the intro, which sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, and... Next, we get to the verse. Now, the first 2 lines of chords are identical to the intro, so we've already learnt that. For the 3rd line of chords, we're going to start off with a D5. Now, I'm going to play it like this instead. Instead of my middle finger, I'm going to use my ring finger here, because then we're going to shift to a D5 of a C, and that's a lot easier to just put your free middle finger into place. We go down to our B flat 6 for 1 bar, and then G minor. So from this position, keep your ring finger where it is, index and middle finger onto the 3rd frets of the 6th and 3rd string. You want to keep your 5th string muted as well, and that will naturally happen as you reach your index finger across to fret the 3rd fret of the 6th string. It will touch that 5th string, muting it. So it's G minor. So the 3rd line of chords. For the 4th line of chords, we have F6. So from this position, keep your ring finger where it is. Index goes to 1st fret, middle finger, 2nd fret on the same strings. Back up to G minor, and then A7 for 2 bars. That's it for the verse, which sounds like this. 1, 2, 3. Okay, next we move to the chorus. And there's 2 lines of chords here. We're going to start with a D, but I'm going to play this in a little bit of a different way. So I'm going to bar my index finger across the 2nd frets of the 3rd, 2nd, and 1st string, and middle finger comes onto the 3rd fret of the 2nd. That allows our ring finger here to move to the 4th fret of the 5th string for that's D over C sharp, which is our next chord. So same position, just put your ring finger into place. Then we go to G over B, and then a D over A. So just a D chord, but you can strum from the 5th string onwards, keeping your 6th string muted. So the 1st line of chords. Then we go to a G, D slash F sharp, E minor, and then an A7. Keep your middle finger where it is and just pivot around that. 2nd line of chords. And the chorus in total. And that's just played through twice for the chorus. The break is identical to the intro. Now I do want to add one thing for the break. Now after the first chorus, going back into the break, instead of playing a D5 for the first chord, I like to play a full D minor. Now what that does is it re-establishes the verse as a minor feel, because the chorus is quite happy, and if we don't establish that D minor, you can kind of feel like you're stuck in the major key as you go into that break before the second verse. So that's just what I like to do. D minor, and then I go back to the D5/C sharp. Those are all the parts we need to learn for the easy strummed version. Now for this outro, you can strum this chord, or you can play the riff that I taught you, which sounds like this. Alright, it's completely up to you. If you were to strum it, I would strum it with one bar, and then one single strum bar. So down, down, up, down, up, 1, 2, 3. Down, down, up, down, up, 1, 2, 3. Do that 3 times and then end the song by just strumming it again. Or you can play the riff, which sounds like this, using the exact same principles and strings that I taught you in the fingerpicked method. So I'm not going to cover that again. You can just go to that portion in the video and everything will be the same, except you'll probably be using a pick. Like that. And that's everything for this easy version of Time in a Bottle. So now I'll be doing 3 full playthroughs of the song. The first will be guitar 1 from the studio version, then guitar 2, and finally the easy strummed version for those of you who aren't quite ready for fingerpicking just yet. And if fingerpicking is something you want to get more confident with, then don't forget to check out my free Fingerpicking Foundations mini course. It gives you 3 really fun core exercises that will help you play songs like this with ease. The link is in the description, so be sure to check that out. Let's get into it.
If I could save time in a bottle, the first thing that I'd like to do is to save every day till eternity. is to spend them with you. If I could make days last forever, if words could make wishes come true, I'd save every day like a treasure, and then again I would spend them with you. But there never seems to be enough time to do the things you wanna do once you find them. I've looked around enough to know that you're the one I wanna go through time with. If I had a box just for wishes, the dreams that had never come true, the box would be empty except for the memory of how they were answered by you. But there never seems to be enough time to do the things you wanna do once you find them. I've looked around enough to know that you're the one I wanna go through time with.
Thanks so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this lesson, then I know you'll absolutely love these other lessons too. So hit the link here, or if you want to grab a copy of my free guitar ebook, then head over to guitarzerotohero.com or click the link here. Thanks so much, and I'll see you guys next time on Guitar Zero to Hero. Cheers.